I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. This is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1CS. Find work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express, I am seriously fighting an urge to go get Chicken Express for lunch today. That is a real...
Why fight it? Why fight the urge? You need to succumb.
Yeah, if you were looking for someone to talk you out of it,
Greg
Powers
you're
right
right.
next
This
to
is
you is not good.
It's the wrong thing to say to the wrong person.
You know you're eating well when you get a little bit of gravy on your knuckle, whenever you...
Yes.
When you got that gravy knuckle,
Yeah.
You got gravy knuckles like, it's been a good day. It's been a good day. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Let's start with our prospect on the rise. Our prospect on the rise is Lovejoy's 2023 wide receiver Kyle Parker, who's one of about 100,000 great receivers they have at Lovejoy. But he is front and center this week after what he did last week with his incredible performance against Argyle. 23 catches, second most in state history, 341 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has now jumped into the DCTF Hot 100 at number 71. He is an LSU commit, and yeah, the numbers are astonishing for the guy who is presently leading all of DFW area 5A receivers in receiving yards.
In all fairness, he was already circled on the spreadsheet to move into the DCTF Hot 100, but after you have this type of performance, you can't deny it, right?
Yeah.
You got to make that change happen instantaneously. So it's one of those transcendent type of Texas high school football performances that you have to give credit to. You don't have this type of game if you're not a special player. And the one thing that I love that Kyle Parker does, actually there's multiple things, I shouldn't say one, is the way he's diversified on the field. He's really, really good in the screen game. He proved in this game that he can be a deep ball target. He's tough across the middle of the field. He has good hands. There's not much to pick apart about Kyle Parker's game. He's a little bit under 6 foot, I guess, if you had to pick one thing to kind of say, oh, well, this keeps him from being, one of the top 2 or 3 guys in the state. Maybe it's that, but he has a wide and varied skill set. And, of course, he's committed to LSU, and I think he'll be really good in that SEC offense. A guy who you can move around from the slot to the outside. He's going to provide some position flexibility and versatility for Brian Kelly and his staff down there in Baton Rouge.
He is pretty good, and the numbers don't even necessarily do him justice, as ridiculous as those numbers are. Let's move on to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week is...
That just felt painful, coming out of your mouth.
Commit of the work. Our commit of the week is Clear Lake's 2024 junior wide receiver Hunter Madden, who committed this week, or Modern rather, committed this week to Texas. He had offers from all over, including LSU, Georgia, Houston, TCU, and Baylor. We have him as a DCTF 4-star prospect and a big-time get on the outside for Steve Sarkisian and company.
Yeah, I really like this pickup here. The one thing that jumps out to me when breaking down his games are that he is a football player. They use him in 3 different phases. They use him offense, defense, special teams. And he's the guy that goes out there and tries hard every play, right? Mm-hmm. He's not going to leave anything out on the field. He cares about his teammates. And I think he could be a great defensive back at the next level, but Texas has specifically recruited him as a wide receiver. And he joins a class, with another guy like Aaron Hampton, who is another DCTF 4-star who could really play anywhere on the field. So they're starting to have a little bit of a trend in that class, finding great Texas high school football players who can play multiple positions. And maybe they'll sort it out later, but I kind of like Moden as an offensive player right now just because he's so special with the football in his hands. And one thing that he brings to the table is functional athleticism. He's really good at the long jump, triple jump, those type of events. And he helped his track team qualify, I think, in the 4x2, maybe the 4x1 and 4x2 for the state track meet. So he's fast, too.
Yeah, he is a guy who is hopefully going to be, for the Texas Longhorns, hopefully going to be an anchor for their 2024 class as Hunter Moden, the Clear Lake wide receiver, pulls the trigger and commits to the University of Texas. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers and Next Level Athlete here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation in hashtag TF Today. Let's continue on to our Underclassmen of the Week. Our Underclassmen of the Week is Beckville 2024 junior athlete Jacoby Williams. We got to see him in person in week 1. He was kind of overshadowed by the Terry Bussey show out there at Timpson. But this past week against Joaquin, 202 yards, 5 touchdowns rushing, 11 tackles, a tackle for loss, a sack, and an 88-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. All right, I'm going to go on the record. I don't want to go too crazy. I think Beckville's Jacoby Williams is pretty good.
Yeah, I really like him. You hit the nail on the head. You know, Terry Bussey had a great game, and it was basically a blowout win over Beckville. We didn't really get a chance to see Jacoby Williams do everything that he likes to do on a football field. I do think he had a pick, though.
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, he had a pick, and he had some good plays on offense. But then he really broke out in a big way this week with, a huge performance in all 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. He's a guy who never leaves the field for Beckville. 5'9", 170 pounds. I got him rated as an athlete. I think he's an all-purpose back, probably at the next level. A guy who you can move around from the slot, also spend some time in the backfield. And he's got every in-state. I think he's got every in-state Power 5 offer. He's got offers from Baylor, Houston, SMU, TCU, Texas Tech, and UTSA, and Texas. So he doesn't have A&M yet. Right. That's the one that he's missing.
Yeah.
But pretty much everybody in the state's offered him, and that's like a huge indication of where he's going, right? Like he's going to be that type of dude.
Yeah, he is a super special talent there at the 2A level. Beckville's junior athlete Jacoby Williams, a name to know, and not just because he's putting up crazy
He's
numbers.
also nominated for Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week, so if you want to vote for him out in Beckville, go mash that button.
Yeah. Him and Kyle Parker from Lovejoy are both up for Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week. Let's round it all out with our Recruit of the Week. Our Recruit of the Week is LaGrange cornerback Bravion Rogers. And the carousel spins for Bravion Rogers. He was a longtime A&M commit, then decommitted a couple of weeks ago, and on, I believe yesterday, recommitted to Texas A&M. He's the number 21 prospect in the DCTF Hot 100. This kid is a freak show playmaker and a big-time re-get for A&M.
Yeah.
Look, he doesn't need to explain it to me. He doesn't owe me an explanation. It does seem kind of weird, though, that he was committed to A&M for a long time, and he was a very vocal, helping A&M bring in other guys. Then he decommitted, and then 2 weeks later he recommitted. I don't know. The whole thing is kind of odd, but he lands back at A&M, the once and future Aggie.
And it was August 10th that he was in the notebook last for his decommitment.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
less than a month.
Yeah, he was decommitted for around a month, less than a month. But he was a big-time, target for Texas A&M. And what was weird, too, at the time of his decommitment is there wasn't a lot of smoke for other schools, right? It was kind of weird that, Rogers decommitted from A&M because he just got back from a great visit to LSU, or you know what I mean? Or this school, it was kind of in the dead period. So there wasn't a whole lot of action going around across his recruitment. So it was kind of odd, but now he's back in the fold at Texas A&M, and they're getting a guy here. Another guy, this may be a theme for the notebook this week, is another student athlete who really excels in all 3 phases for a 4A team. LaGrange 4A, right? Yeah. LaGrange 4A team, does a little bit of everything. But I love his upside as a defensive back. He really proved last season that he can play on an island, lock down the other team's top wide receiver, and he has that skill set. Very fast, 10.69, 100-meter dash, and plays with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think he could be a nickel back, too, so I think that's where you're going to see him kind of crack the 2-deep first, probably at A&M, but can grow into being a guy that you can leave on the island.
Yeah, you can put on the corner. And yeah, this is a huge get for A&M, kind of re-solidifies his commitment, let's say, as he's back in the fold there for the Aggies, is Bravion Rogers from LaGrange. Always in the fold here is Greg Powers from Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter.
He's giggly today.
See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers, appreciate your time, but